welcome back to Models and Agents, episode 88 for June 21st, 2026. There's signal and noise in AI every day. Let's get to the signal. The week's biggest developments pulled together. What actually moved, why it matters, and what to watch next. Z.ai shipped GLM 5.2 on June 13th with a 1 million token context window and 2 explicit thinking effort modes called High and Max. The model routes through Anthropic-compatible endpoints, so it drops straight into Claude Code, Cline, and OpenClaw with no code changes. No benchmarks appeared at launch, yet MIT-licensed open weights are promised for the following week. Teams already running those coding tools can swap the endpoint today and measure whether the extra context helps multi-file work. Remember, we last checked frontier models on episode 86. This release adds an open weight contender that directly tests the cost versus reasoning trade-off the category has been tracking. OpenAI published deployment simulation research that replays de-identified past conversations through candidate models to estimate real failure rates before release. The method produced a 1.5 times median multiplicative error on held-out deployment data and extends to multi-turn agent scenarios by simulating tool calls. Traditional static benchmarks remain necessary for rare high-severity cases, while this approach supplies frequency estimates under realistic conditions. Anthropic reported that Claude Code task value rose 27% over 6 months, even as success rates held steady across domains. Microsoft Research introduced Next Latent Prediction, which layers compact world model prediction on top of standard next token training and yields up to 3.3 times faster inference. OpenAI released LifeSciBench 750 expert-authored tasks spanning 7 biological research workflows created with 173 scientists. GPT Rosalind outperformed GPT 5.5 on every workflow in the suite, and GPT 5.4 completed a full medicinal chemistry project from literature to validated result when paired with Molecule.one's Maria AI. NVIDIA released Nemotron 3 Ultra, an open frontier model built as a 550 billion/55 billion mixture of experts hybrid Mamba architecture with 1 million token context. The model targets sustained agent operation rather than single-turn chat, addressing the gap where most open models lose coherence across long tool use loops. Remember, we covered open weight models on episode 85. Nemotron 3 Ultra gives builders a self-hostable option that competes on agent-relevant tasks without closed model restrictions. DeepSeek previewed its V4 series of mixture of experts models that support million token contexts with major efficiency gains over prior releases. A developer open-sourced a CUDA kernel that keeps top-K vector search entirely on the GPU, removing the PCIe round trip that previously created variable latency in agentic retrieval augmented generation. The kernel produces deterministic microsecond scale tail latencies while preserving answer quality, which matters for production agents that must meet strict response time service level agreements. Virtuals wired Layton's distributed GPU engine into its agent network so agents can call GLM 5.2 across a shared compute fabric without managing individual clusters. Teams already running Virtuals agents gain immediate access to the new model without fresh infrastructure work. Simon Willison documented how Fable 5's refusal patterns under export control rules now block the multi-step fix this code prompts defenders use daily on vulnerable open source examples. The model rejected an initial review for security issues framing, yet complied when asked simply to fix, turning the output into working test scripts. Remember, we tracked safety and policy on episode 87. This enforcement treats routine defensive patching as a prohibited capability and narrows access to models that support the find-fix test loop inside the United States. Hermes agent added asynchronous subagents that no longer block the parent session during delegated work. The update appears in the same week as Nemotron 3 Ultra and Fable 5 export control coverage. Mark Tech Post reported the change on June 16th. Builders testing long-running agent workflows can now delegate tasks without halting the main chat thread. The feature directly addresses one of the open questions on agent reliability, tracked since episode 87. Watch for integration examples that combine the new sub-agent behavior with million token context models released this week. VibeThinker 3B is a 3 billion parameter dense model derived from Qwen 2.5 Coder 3B through the Spectrum to Signal post-training pipeline. It reaches parity with DeepSeek v3.2 and Kimi k2.5 on verifiable reasoning benchmarks under an MIT license that permits commercial use and fine-tuning. Liquid AI introduced LFM 2-5 embedding 350M and LFM 2-5 Colbert 350M dense bioencoder and late interaction models for fast multilingual search. The pair covers 11 languages and targets retrieval workloads that appear inside agent loops. MarkTech Post covered the release on June 19th. These embedding models can be paired with the new GPU resident top K kernel to keep both indexing and search on device. Teams running retrieval augmented generation should test whether the late interaction variant reduces context leakage compared with prior bioencoder baselines. Google Cloud introduced the Open Knowledge format, a vendor-neutral markdown specification that supplies curated context to AI agents. The format was announced the same week as GLM.5.2 endpoint availability. It gives agent builders a structured way to inject domain knowledge without vendor lock-in. Early adopters can convert existing documentation repositories into OKF files and serve them alongside the new 1 million token models. MarkTech Post noted the release on June 16th, a major security report detailed active exploits against Langflow and related agent frameworks. The findings were referenced in episode 87 coverage and remain relevant for any self-hosted deployment. Teams should audit running instances this week before connecting new models such as Nemotron 3 Ultra or GLM times 5.2. The report underscores the ongoing safety and policy thread that has followed export control and evaluation discussions throughout the month. VentureBeat published analysis showing that fine-tuning forgets prior knowledge while RAG leaks context, and that hypernetworks can build the model an agent needs on demand. The piece appeared on June 20th. Hypernetworks offer a third path that avoids both permanent weight changes and repeated retrieval steps. Builders working on long-horizon agents can prototype the approach against the atomic fact memory systems also released this week. A new GPU resident top K kernel and atomic fact memory systems for agents both surfaced in research this week, offering concrete ways to reduce tail latency and context leakage in long-horizon workflows. If you run retrieval augmented agents, benchmark the open-sourced CUDA kernel against your current retrieval step this week. If you already use Claude Code or Klein, point the endpoint at GLM-5.2 and test the high versus max effort modes on a multi-file refactoring task. If you build life science tooling, run GPT Rosalind and GPT 5.4 against the LifeSci bench tasks that match your domain. If you self-host agents, audit any Langflow or related framework instances for the active exploits detailed in this week's security report. Keep an eye on the GLM 5.2 open weights release and any early independent comparisons of its effort tiers on real workloads. Watch whether regulators issue clarification on whether routine code review prompts remain restricted under the Fable 5 rules. Before we go, tomorrow we will have more on how the new inference kernels and agent memory systems perform once teams start integrating them at scale. That's Models and Agents for today. If you found this useful, share it with someone who's trying to keep up with all these changes, and subscribe so you don't miss tomorrow's update. The AI world moves fast. We'll help you keep up. See you tomorrow, and before you go, this show is part of the NERA Network, a family of daily podcasts covering tech, science, markets, and more. If you enjoyed today's episode, give Fascinating Frontiers a listen, the most fascinating news from space and science. You can explore the whole lineup at neuronetwork.com. This episode used AI voice synthesis of my voice. Editorial selection and analysis are my own.